Okay, assalamu alaikum. Hope you're all well. Oops. Don't want to do that. Let's bring it like this. Okay. Have a quick sound check. Everything's okay? Everybody can hear me? Nothing is muted. Salam Muhammad Hassan. Salam Proud Boy. All right, Proud Boy. Audio checking for us always. Excellent. Okay. There's two of us, huh? So it's just Muhammad Hassan and Proud Boy. That's fine. Let's get started. I didn't really, to be honest, I've been busy. So even when I scheduled this again, scheduled it pretty late, only like a couple of hours ago, and I was wondering what shall I discuss today. So I just pulled something out from my notes. Something it's pretty a while ago that I considered looking into. So I thought I'd just share that very quickly. I did some other stuff which has got to do with basically a while back there was a video by Mufti Abu Layth where he's talking about the variants of the Qur'an, and I was trying to find that same video. He had a nice little presentation inside it. It was pretty long, where he talked about what he calls the dynamism of the Qur'an. That the Qur'an is dynamic, and that the earlier community, the Sahaba had license to sort of switch synonyms around, okay, and that's what created the whole issue of the readings, the qir'at of the Quran and stuff. He, like me, rejects the hadith of the ahruf, the Quran. Well, I think he does anyway. There's one video where he says that, but in other places, what he means by he says that what's meant by ahruf is a dynamism. Anyway, it's not really about him so much, but what he said in one of those was pretty interesting, I thought, and I just made some notes about it, and I thought I'd share it here. So it's about this verse here, where basically this opinion that the Quran was never supposed to be a book. It was never supposed to be written down. It was just supposed to be a recitation, and that it's people who later made it into a book, okay, and made it into pages, as they say. And what I mentioned about this was this verse here, which says, "A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem, وَمَا قَدَرُ اللَّهَ حَقَّ قَدْرِهِ," and they have not estimated God with His true worth when they said, God has not revealed upon an immortal anything, min shay. مَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ عَلَى بَشَرٍ مِّن شَيْءٍ. And the response that the Prophet is said to respond with, he says, قُلْ مَنْ أَنزَلَ الْكِتَابَ الَّذِي جَاءَ بِهِ مُوسَى نُورًا وَهُدًى لِلنَّاسِ. Who is it then who sent down the book which Musa came with, okay, which was a light and guidance to mankind. And this is the key part. تجعلونه قراطيس تبدونها وتخفون كثيرا. You make it into what I say is booklets, okay, but in the other sort of idea, it's that you make it into books, that it was never meant to be a book, that this kitab was never meant to be a kitab, it was meant to be a book, it was you make it into a book, okay. تجعلونها قراطيس تبدونها وتخفون كثيرا. You reveal it and hide much. وعلمتم ما تعلمون أنتم ولا آباؤكم, and you were taught what you did not know, neither you nor your forefathers. قل الله قل الله, say Allah. ثم ذرهم في خوضهم يلعبون, then leave them in the sort of the like here it says empty discourse, right? It's discourse and unit. So it's the verse in from Sahih International. I haven't changed the translation. All I've done is added where the word says qiraطيس. They have it, I think, pages. I did booklets over here. And they did not appraise Allah with His true appraisal when they said Allah did not reveal to a human being anything. Say, who revealed the scripture that Musa brought as a light and guidance to people? You, Jews, says in brackets from the translation, make it into pages. you make it into pages or booklets. Now the word is قراطيس, قراطيس, disclosing some of it and concealing much. And you were taught that which you knew not, neither you nor your fathers. Okay, say Allah, and here has in brackets and revealed it, then leave them in their empty discourse. So the word qaratis, it's pretty, I mean, it's said by Egyptians, Sudanese, other places where, where like the kids, when they go to school, they take what we call in Sudan, call it kurras, right? It's just basically a small booklet where you can write your notes and stuff. Okay, so it's meant to be something from which you write down parts of something else, basically. Okay, you make it into, so it's like a little booklet, basically. A kurras or qaratis is a little booklet. Okay, and so that's what it really means. Okay, تجعلون قراطيس doesn't mean that the revealed book, you're the ones who make it into book. It is that you take the book and make it into parts, chop it up into parts. And most of the translations actually do say this. It means you make it into chopped up portions. Okay, so you have the main book and you portion it off. And the reason why you do that, is so you can show to the public what you want them to follow, okay? And you can conceal other parts, the other parts which are not in your favor, you, the scholars and the stuff, right? Because it's talking about this is directed at the scholars, right? You show the parts that you want, you conceal the parts which you don't want, okay? And this happens in Islam as well. It doesn't happen with the Qur'an, but it does happen with the narrations and hadith, okay? So parts of the hadith and stuff are hidden away. The famous statement of I think it's Imam Ahmad and others, that they would say, انقص ما شئت من الحديث ولا تزد عليه, right? Take out from the hadith what you want, but don't add to it. Okay, so they would cut off parts of the hadith, and watch. That's why the narrations you find in sometimes in Bukhari, Muslim, in these later collections, when you follow the isnad back up, you find that the original narration is much longer. Okay, it's the same isnad, but the original narration is much longer. But things have been taken out, words have been taken out, things have been switched around. Okay, so note the change. If you let's analyze this verse. This part says تجعلونه. Okay, so look at the change in the pronoun. تجعلونه. You make it into qaratis, meaning this it was already there. This it is the book, right? You make it, the book, into qaratis. Thus there was already a kitab first. There was already a kitab there. Okay, all you are doing is portioning it off. Okay, you then take this kitab and make it into qaratis. تجعلونها قراطيس تخفونها. Okay, these qaratis, which are now, if you look at what I'm talking about here is the change of this pronoun from here, who. Okay, تجعلونه, the kitab, into qaratis. Okay, different portions which you conceal. Okay, because it's plural now. The qaratis are plural, right? You conceal some of it. You conceal some of these qaratis. Okay, you make the qaratis, you make them into the book into qaratis, and once it is qaratis, you reveal them, but you also conceal a lot. وَتَخْفُونَ كَثِيرًا. So conceal many of what, of course, many of the qaratis, right? And you reveal some of it, because making it into these booklets, it's very conductive to the enterprise, right? You chop up the God's scripture into portions, right? And then the parts which are in your favor, you reveal them, okay? You tell the people you must act according to this, that, or the other, okay? And the parts which are not in your favor, you conceal, okay? So that's what that is talking about. And of course, now just look at the kitab revealed to Musa, okay? We don't have a kitab, one book revealed to Musa, right? It's definitely in some part of the Old Testament, okay? And the Old Testament is basically booklets, right? There's not one book, okay? It's been chopped up into different booklets. We don't have this one kitab that was given to Musa anymore. It's in qaratis, okay? They made that book, that kitab, into qaratis, right? But the kitab was there. The kitab was there with Musa. Okay, so that's that. So now this making of revealed scripture into segmented parts, okay, it's something that's mentioned in other verses with regards to the Quran in a negative way as well. So you have these verses. It says, قُلْ إِنِّي أَنَا النَّذِيرُ الْمُبِينُ. Say, indeed, I am the clear warner. كما أنزلنا على المقتسمين, just as we have revealed, to the separators. Okay, who are the separators? الذين جعلوا القرآن عضين, those who made the Quran into portions. I see this. It's very interesting that here it said Al-Quran عضين. Okay, this عضين, I think it comes from عض, right? So to bite, right? It's like you bite something up into portions, and it's very apt when you're considering it that it's been used as a reference to the Quran, which is going to be a recitation, right? Something you're going to speak with your mouth. So you chop it up with your mouth into portions. Okay. The idea about dynamism. This is something which I did find irksome about that. So I just like I said, these were just personal notes, which I didn't really have an idea of what I was going to present today. So I decided to present, but talk about this qiraطيس issue. And among those notes were me discussing about this idea that the Quran could have been dynamic, that the Sahaba could have changed or had license to change words in the verses. Okay, and that's what created what we later called the ahruf. Okay, the sabat ahruf, or rather the readings, and then that was later pinned under this hadith, which I think is to be rejected, the hadith of the 7 ahruf or whatever, or the ahruf in the just plural. So how can the Quran be dynamic? And the Sahaba, we should say, and the Sahaba have azim, or have a license to change words of verses when the Prophet himself couldn't. Now, I'm referencing here these verses, which are very forceful verses directed at the Prophet himself. And it says, Tanzilu min Rabbil Alameen. Okay, it's speaking of the Quran. It's a revelation from the Lord of the worlds. Tanzil, brought down from the Lord of the world. Okay, so he is sending it down. Okay, once it's down, right? وَلَوْ تَقَوَّلَ عَلَيْنَا بَعْضَ الْأَقَاوِيلِ, and if he, Muhammad, were to make upon us, وَلَوْ تَقَوَّلَ, قول, from say something, وَلَوْ تَقَوَّلَ عَلَيْنَا, upon us, بَعْضَ الْأَقَاوِيلِ, even some words, or some part of words, right? Even some part of a word or words. If you were to put those upon us, لَأَخَذْنَا مِنْهُ بِالْيَمِينِ, we would have seized him by the right hand. ثُمَّ لَقَطَعْنَا مِنْهُ الْوَتِينَ, then we would have cut from him the aorta, so the main, blood vessel. Okay, فَمَا مِنْكُم مِّنْ أَحَدٍ عَنْهُ حَاجِزِينَ, and there is not one of you who could prevent us from him. And then the verses continue, وَإِنَّهُ لَتَذْكِرَةٌ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ وَإِنَّا لَنَعْلَمُ أَنَّ مِنْكُم مُكَذِّبِينَ. This is truly a reminder for the muttaqeen. Okay, so this part here is sandwiched between two things where it's describing the Quran. تنزيل من رب العالمين وإنه لتذكرة للمتقين. And in between, God is saying, if the Prophet himself were to change some of these words, okay, to put upon us words that we did not say, لو تقول علينا, okay, there's a big threat directed at him. Okay, and this, even when people are discussing and debating now, all right, any group of people, when they're discussing or debating things right now, you can't swap the words of your opponent. Your opponent says something, and then you say, okay, well, he said this, and you change the word to what you think is a synonym. You think, okay, this is, he said this, I'm going to just substitute this, and he actually said this. Okay, you quote him wrong. Your opponent will just say, quite rightly, I did not say that. Okay, you must quote people properly. Okay, what the person says, you must say it as they say it. Okay, if you're going to quote them as in evidence, or even in this kind of like refutation thing that people have got going on, right? Where they debate a lot. Okay, you can't just swap words. Okay, of somebody else. It's not acceptable. But yet with God, the idea is that they could. Okay, and of course, what Mufti mentioned, this has actually been reported by, it's an opinion of scholars, right? Opinion of scholars that said no, the Sahaba were allowed to change things. Okay, they were allowed to just swap words for synonyms. It was completely acceptable. Okay, and of course, I completely reject that. Okay, you can't change anything in a surah Okay, a surah begins with the Bismillah, right? It's in the name of God. You are speaking Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Okay, in His name. You can't then change anything of that. Okay, it's Tanzilum min Rabbil Alameen, sent down from the Lord of the worlds. Okay, and when you speak it, you are speaking Bismillah in His name. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. You can't swap things inside it for something else which are not in His name. Okay, you cannot do that. And also, of course, some things could drastically change. You know, some things could be drastically changed. Like, for example, marrying underage girls, right? So we could we, if we were in the Sahaba's time, to take this idea that you could change the synonyms or things which you think are synonymous, could we have changed this verse in Surah An-Nisa, which is right now, you know, an issue, I suppose, right? Which says, you know, فانكحوا, then marry ما طاب لكم من النساء, the verse is supposed to be, you know, marry of women, with those who seem pleasing you of women, you know, 2, 3, 4, right? Either 2, 3, or 4. Could we change it to this? This in my, what I've changed it to, I didn't put a translation, sorry. It says فانكحوا ما طاب لكم من الإناث. Okay, إناث. You know, marry what you like of females, right? Females, not women, females, 2 or 3 or 4. Okay, and this then would include being able to marry underage girls, right? You'd be able to marry underage girls rather than the verse clearly saying marry women. Okay, and you know, if you're going to go by as some claim that marrying underage girls at the time was okay, why couldn't this be allowed, right? The Sahaba or the Tabi'een, okay? And if you were to say that even that the Prophet did marry Aisha, it's, you know, underaged, then again, that's even more reason why you should be allowed to, you know, change this word, right? It's a synonym, you know. فَانكِحُوا مَا طَابَ لَكُم مِنَ الْإِنَاثِ, instead of النِّسَاء. And even the wazn in the sort of the weighting of the word within the verse, it wouldn't influence the balagha much in terms of how you would recite it. So it doesn't throw off the meter. It doesn't throw off the meter. فَانكِحُوا مَا طَابَ لَكُم مِنَ الْإِنَاثِ مَثْنَى وَثُلَاثَ وَرُبَاعَ. It doesn't throw it off. It still works perfectly well. But if they change, so if they change the word to suit them in their own short-sighted, you know, vision, then that could really have disastrous consequences in the revelation and the dhikr, which is supposed to be for the alameen, right? Supposed to span the world, right? To be a dhikr and a reminder. Changing anything in there, what you think in your short-sighted vision is just a synonym. No, it's not gonna work. It's gonna be, could create real problems later on down the line. Okay, so that's basically all I had. Let's get to the comments. Let's see what we have. 17 with us in the live stream. Let me see the chat. Is there anybody? There's nobody backstage. If anybody wants to come on, please feel free. And please excuse the baby crying in the background. Okay, we have here. Oh, okay, there's nothing going on in the chat. Okay, nothing going on in the chat. I wonder if Ayman is here. So Ayman put a comment in the channel, I think just today, about Salah again. I'm not sure if he'll be on to speak with us or not. And by the way, I put forward a counter-strike notification against the copyright that I have. I'm pretty sure I'll be okay. But you know, if these things fail, basically what happens is you get taken to court, right? Generally, I don't think it's ever happened. I've done this, I think, with 3 other videos. You know, if you get a copyright strike, you can do a counter notification, counter strike notification, or anyway, you counter it, and then it becomes like a legal process. If the other party who put forward the copyright and the strike doesn't start legal proceedings, if they don't, then the copyright expires and the video is reinstated. If they do start legal proceedings, then of course you start, you have to follow through in court and stuff. And then if you lose, your whole channel could be deleted. But I don't think that will happen. I mean, it was just part of a live stream, and it was just me with a guest who showed was just showing an app for academic purposes. I said, and it is for academic purposes, and it wasn't me who put forward that copyrighted content, and I didn't know it was copyrighted. So that should be okay. We'll see how it goes. Anybody else have any comments about I've presented today, or any other questions about something else? Okay, if we don't have anything, I think I'll end it at about 9 minutes or so. Could discuss something else which I just really saw. It's got nothing to do with contemplation or not Qur'an or anything, but I saw on another video mentioning that they were supposed. I didn't know this was supposed to happen, but it was supposed to be apparently. If people know who Muhammad Hijab is, a pretty popular YouTuber. He used to do a lot of the debates and stuff on Speaker's Corner, and that's where a lot of these guys, the popular sort of Dawah people, got famous, right? Ali Dawah and Muhammad Hijab and these guys. But anyway, Muhammad Hijab, apparently he was supposed to have appear on the Jordan Peterson podcast about 3 times, but it was cancelled. I think this last time recently, and I think so because it was cancelled so many times, it seems that they are making Muhammad Hijab is making all of these like videos, refutation videos about it. But I didn't know anything about that. I was looking forward to the Hamza Yusuf talk with Jordan Peterson, but that was cancelled as well. He was supposed to speak with him about Islam, especially if anybody's seen those clips of him basically saying that Muhammad was a warlord and stuff like that. Now, I'm not completely, of course, if I had to choose between who I'd rather see speak on such a high-profile podcast and platform, without doubt, would rather be Hamza Yusuf than Muhammad Hijab. Just because I think that even though both come from a very traditional perspective, but I think Hamza Yusuf would bring more of the spirituality into the mix, and people like Muhammad Hijab, even Hamza Yusuf himself, they can, because they follow the traditional, they're just a traditional sort of Islam. Whether they like it or not, they could be drawn into being basically have to accept certain things, certain narrations, certain ideas about the Prophet, and just because they're there in the literature, right? They're part of mainstream Islam, right? They're part of mainstream, the traditional idea. They could deny it and honeycoat it, as is done, for example, with the idea that the apostasy laws in the madhahib, in the traditional madhahib, they're really just about about capital offense, about what's called treason, right? That's what they put it. It's about treason. No, generally, it definitely doesn't mean that. In the traditional madhahib, it is, people are killed for their leaving the deen. Okay, and that kind of thing. If it comes forward into the discussion on these kind of podcasts, if the interlocutor will hold his ground about that, it will put a very difficult situation on people like Hamza Yusuf or Muhammad Hijab or anybody else who accepts these things. You have to be able to remove the baggage of the past. Okay, but the problem is, of course, they won't do that. The baggage of the past has become almost very difficult to remove when such people who have a traditional bent are speaking about Islam. They will always defer to it, Okay, they will always say, and then they're between like a rock and a hard place. If they were to like deny some of them, if they were to deny, no, these hadiths are wrong, it's wrong, Quran takes precedence. Okay, we must reject all of this. They will have people behind them who now call them right hadith rejectors or all that kind of stuff. So I thought it's pretty interesting. I wouldn't have minded if it had to be with somebody. Like I said, I would rather the Hamza Yusuf one go through. But if not, yeah, Hamid Hijab. Um, why not just have at least a Muslim voice there? It's better than none, and rather having you know the voices on that public very prominent platform be just the standard ex-Muslim, um, just be the ex-Muslims and the like Ayan Hirsi Ali and the more Islamophobe right-wing kind of people. But we'll see. I don't think it's going to go through now anyway because they seem to have started this kind of back and forth, right? So once it descends into these kind of refutation videos online, I don't think the sit down of an actual discussion would likely happen. Well, we'll see. Who knows? Okay, let's check the chat one more time. Nope, all quiet on the chat. Okay, nobody coming on backstage. So, like I said, in a couple of more minutes, I'll probably end the stream. Unless we have a latecomer who wants to get on and share something with us. Let me go back to my presentation. There were some things which I might have missed. Yeah. What's very interesting about some things in some of the words like قراطيس, والعاديات, right? There are some words you see you'd think in sort of like colloquial Arabic, right? There are things in colloquial Arabic, which is this isn't part of standard Arabic or Fusha Arabic. It's just something that people have made up, right? And then many times I'm surprised that there are some things which I thought are just colloquial, sort of cultural Arabic, end up having really deep roots in the Arabic language. Very interesting. Like in this case, this qaraطيس, right, seems to have transformed in for the Egyptians, the Sudanese, definitely. I'm not sure who else among the Arabs, but it seems to have transformed into kurras, right? So in Sudan, they say kurras for like a booklet, or a little, notebook that are given to kids that they write on, their schoolwork. Where's your notebook? It'd be basically, where's your kurras? And I was also surprised, like for example, in Morocco, they say they call the horse al-aoud, right? So I'm like, why are you guys calling a horse al-aoud? What is that? I used to think, okay, that's just colloquial Arabic, maybe influenced by Berber, maybe influenced by even some sort of French link or something. I think al-aoud, what is that? But it turns out, yeah, that's like in the surah wal-adiyat dabhan. Okay, al-aoud, those are al-adiyat in the Quran. So it's quite interesting that you can find these sort of ancient uses, and they don't know it. The Moroccans don't know that this al-aoud is actually in the Quran. They don't make that link generally. Okay. Hey, there's another one. We say qaraطيس for papers in Swahili, right? Very interesting. There you go. I mean, Swahili is one of the the Arab. I think there's a branch, the branch of languages where Arabic falls into. Swahili is one of those. I forget what it's called, but if you look up in the linguistic family tree of Arabic, okay, Swahili is like a cousin or something, or it's descended from the same sort of thing. Okay. All right. Okay. It doesn't look like anybody's coming on today, and we don't have anything going on. No questions in the chat, so I think I'll end it there. Jazakumullah khair, and thank you for coming to listen to this small presentation. Okay. Blendere. Assalamu alaikum.